boys, amongst all of the issues that we have had to endure, we are back for an extra round of qualifying and a 90-minute race here, though everybody appears to have decided to join the amateur squad, including Harry Spears up here, who seemed to be off to a great start, as well as Vince. P12 right now. Obviously, no times have been set just yet in this qualifying session, so we'll have to wait a moment for those, but figure we'll get back to a little bit of racing here. So, we'll just call it an hour delay, but we're back, and we're live, and we're ready to go, hopefully. And barring any unfortunate circumstances, we should have about 105 minutes till race results come up. As we get through this qualifying here, it's now 6:01 p.m. Is that an hour earlier? I could have done with a morning race here. Oh, is Harry Spears driving like me for a moment through the chicane. Through the chicken he goes, and Harry Spears will be the first driver to post a qualifying lap here, pending he gets through this without any issues. Yeah, there's no more pro drivers apparently. They all got relegated to the amateur division, as well as the silver drivers were moved over to the amateur division as well. So, moving through the first sector now, it's Harry Spears. Yeah, I agree. It's Harry Spears up front here, obviously. Right now, though, Machihaila might want qualifying to end. He's in that P1 position. Dijkstra's in P3. He was off to a great start in the previous race that lasted 6 minutes. Seemed to have some good pace in that McLaren, so look for him to improve in this race as well. As we go on board with Harry Spears now through the helmet cam. Not sure what some of these drivers drive in. I know a lot are in the dash cam from prior experience, but here might be the view that you'll see if your name is Harry Spears. Coming through Sector 2 now is the 285 Mercedes way up front to start the last race. Vince way up front as well. It was a great launch for those two, and Joe McCauley revealed there was actually an issue on his end as well outside of the game, so a lucky break for Joe McCauley in the BMW. Who's still sitting in the pits, so hopefully he got everything sorted there, but still on board with this Mercedes now. Goes towards 130R now, and absolutely laying it all out there. 245 km/h coming down into the chicane now. Goes Harry Spears to set the first flyer of the day. He's got a few drivers behind him, including Noguera down there in P9. You'll see him on the timing tower. Should move up to P2 or P3 in a moment's time. So across the line, Harry Spears with a 58.3 to start off this qualifying session. And you see Jordan Burroughs go into P2 with Nicholas Noguera there in P3. And Vince, there it is, your top two. Once again, Vince and Harry in those P1 and P2 positions. Keep an eye out for them to continue improving. Looks like Vince is already up 2/10 on his lap time coming through the first couple of corners, as well as Nicholas and Jordan. Andrew Harvey seems to be doing well so far in the Mercedes. 4 seconds down the road, but he's improving massively through the first sector. And man, does he have some wild colors going on there for that Gulf Racing Team AMG. Looks like Erdman jumped into that P4 position. You can see he's 2.5 seconds down the road, or 2.7 seconds down the road, if you will. And Thomas Ahrensman, he's improving. Take a look here. There we go. All right. A few things making more sense now as up towards the top. It's still the same, but we got Vince. He's up 3/10 right now, and as he comes through the middle of the lap at this moment, a bit beyond that, maybe 70% through the lap now. He's 3/10 down the road from Harry Spears, who's leading the way in this qualifying session. However, Vince is up 0.3 on this lap, and he's headed down towards 130R now. He's got a nice little slipstream from that McLaren in front. And we'll see what kind of assistance that provides as he goes through the chicane here. Very close to that McLaren in front, hoping there's no hindrance to his lap time, though he did lose at least a 10th there. Jordan Burroughs, he's up 0.4 of a second. He crosses the line there and is just 0.5 now off of the race lead, or the quali lead, I should call it. 1/10 now separates Harry and Vince for that P1 position in this qualifying session. Machihaila, he's way down the road right now because he hasn't set a qualifying time. Here is that all-chrome Ferrari, as he'd like to call it, but doesn't appear all-chrome. Some yellow going on there as well. And coming down towards the hairpin. Once he gets past that Lambo there, this should be clean air throughout the rest of this quali lap for the 213 of Machihaila. And thank you to everyone running this league and running the servers, because you're, well, not the servers, but you were able to get the race back up and running here. I know it's under unfortunate circumstances, but good job doing so in just a few moments' time. I kept the chat entertained, I promise, with the same songs on loop for 15 minutes or so. But here's Machihaila down towards 130R, and he's 2 seconds up on his best couple, or his outlap at the moment. So hopefully a massive improvement here for Machihaila. He's P19. He was up in the top 10 to start the previous race. And here goes the Ferrari down the pit straight and across the line. Machihaila, where's he going to end up? P4 at the moment. 1 second separates P1 to P4 as we stand right now. Marcus Lawrence was another driver trying to get a lap time in here, as I know he was doing a lot of the back end work getting this back up and running. Casper Arlett in P18 right now, but he's up 1.2 seconds at the moment. What can this Ferrari do? Something to keep an eye on as well. As up towards the front, Machihaila, he's improving. Luca Conti here in P11, improving on his lap time. He'll have a chance to overtake Vendela for that P10 position. And Conti was one of the drivers that he had a quality that put him just outside of the pro tier and had some work to do. So hopefully this qualifying can move him up, though he just lost about a second through the last few corners there. And Joe McCauley now coming out into that P4 position. He's 0.5 adrift from Harry Spears, though Joe Burrows. It's not a quarterback, it's Jordan Burroughs in P3. He's got him by 1/100th. It was bound to happen, wasn't it? It's Peter Parnell in P14 in that Aston Martin, the number 53 coming through now. And we'll see where he's able to line up on the grid as we push through here. Sorry, let me turn down my volume a little bit. It's probably a bit ear-piercing. There we go. That should be a bit better there. And it's still Parnell here, 0.7 up on his lap time. Martin, he's coming through now to set a quality lap. Only 2 drivers have yet to do so. We have 25 on the grid this go-around. And it's Dijkstra in P24 without a lap time, and Prucha as well in P25. So it looks like the next driver to cross the line that's improving at the moment is Peter Parnell in this Aston Martin that we were just recently on board with. So let's go ahead into the front cockpit cam for Peter Parnell as he rounds into sector number 3. And coming out of Spoon, always a bit difficult on the entry there. The exit, though, lines up nicely if you get that entry right. And here he goes down into 130R now, towards the Casio Triangle. And looks nicely done so far. A little bit jittery there, but looks pretty good from Peter as he is still improving on his lap time at the moment. He's right there, right where it needs to be, and just dropped a 10th. So it looks like it's going to be not his best lap time. as he goes across there. But here's Luca Conti. He's improving at the moment. Can he get into the top 10? He needs everything he can out of this Lambo at the moment. The number 55 crosses the line just after that McLaren that you see in front of him. Moves from P14 just up to P13. Still has a few tenths to work out of that Lambo. Chris Thornton, he's doing well so far in this Ferrari. Sits in P10 at the moment. And down the pit straight he goes. And across the line there for Thornton. Does he improve? It looked like he did, but possibly an invalidation somewhere around that lap, as it was a faster lap time. Oh, and there's a little bit of a venture for an Aston Martin just off the side of the track. Aaron's been caught out by that one as he lost a few tenths through that corner. Machihaila, he's got 2 tenths up right now. He needs about 4 tenths to catch up to Joe McCauley, who's in that P4 position. So let's see. Up front, it's still Harry Spears. We got Vince in P2, Jordan Burroughs in P3. It's Joe McCauley in P4, and still Machihaila in P5, as he does improve by just over a tenth. Lucas Vendela, driver to keep an eye on here as well, and that's a mean-looking Beamer right there. VTEC for life, apparently. I hope he knows what kind of car he's driving, as crosses over the pit entry. And down the pit straight now. Looks like he could jump up a few places if he can really get that right foot down. And across the line, he's going to stay where he's at. And it looks like another invalidation for another driver here. Further down the order, it's Cohen Hay in P14. And does he have enough to get across the line and move up a position? Not at the moment. He doesn't. Stays P14. Sasha Ruppel down in P16 at the moment in the McLaren. You got Max Van Laar improving as well in P20. Elsewhere on the grid, Jasper Van Bergen just behind Sasha here. And towards the bottom, you got Matcha Nix in P22. Marcus Lawrence in P23 with Miguel Fonseca and Marin Dijkstra rounding out the rest of that order. So across the line now goes Sasha, and he does improve all the way up into P14, so knocks down Cohen Hay just a little bit there. And no drivers setting hot laps just yet, or laps that are improving, but Harry Spears and Vince are both out on track right now. Jordan Burroughs also out on track at the moment. Looks like he's trying to improve. Joe McCauley, he's on an out lap. So here's Jordan Burroughs in this Mercedes. So it is top 3 Mercedes. Advantage the AMG team at the moment. Vincent, he's improving right now. He's got that 10th that he needs, but he's also got to worry about Harry Spears, who is possibly improving. Harry's just up the road from Vincent, so it's not going to be until the last couple of seconds where Vincent figures out where he needs to be out on track. Through the hairpin now goes the number 33 AMG. He's battling the 285 and the number 69. Nice. Near him. Further down the order, it's Nicolas Nogueira improving. Thomas Ahrensman, he's improving as well. So P6 and P7 seem to be doing well so far. Down this back straight now goes the AMG. So you got Harry Spears just ahead. He's going to be crossing the line shortly. We'll see where he's able to go in this Mercedes. Across the line now from a 58.3 to a 58.2. Vince needs about 2 tenths out of this Mercedes if he wants to grab that pole position. At the moment, he crosses the line. Where does he go? It's good enough for pole position by 3/1000ths of a second. And what a lap there between Vince and Harry Spears. Joe McCauley's not able to improve. Jordan's not able to improve. And it looks like that might be pole decided there, as Thomas Ahrensman, he's still out on track. He's 4 tenths up. Obviously nowhere near the top 2. Wow, are they head and shoulders above the rest? I think I used that line about an hour ago. Got to retire it for the day. As the McLaren comes through 130R now of Thomas Ahrensman. He might be improving just enough to overtake the Bentley ahead. We'll see coming through the final corner now. He's 0.5 up at the moment, so he's got to keep with this pace as he rounds through there, trying to go from P7 to P6. Can he grab it? Yes, he can. He's up now, and Erdmann is the next threat to someone further up the grid, but he's not improving, so we move down to Lucas Vendela in P12 at the moment. Luca Conti seems to be having some connection issues there. Here's the BMW coming across the pit entry, and this seems to be an improvement as well. Can he get into the top 10? It's going to be close. He does. He grabs P10 for the moment. So there's your quick qualifying order, and we'll be right back to run through all of that and grab the start of the race. right. We're back again here for about the 5th time, but that's okay because we're getting underway here for this formation lap. It is a little bit of a different grid. Not too much has changed, but just a few movements throughout that I can pick out from my very poor memory here. But we have Vince on the top spot with Harry in P2. It's Jordan Burroughs in P3 with Joe McCauley in P4. Machihaila sitting in P5 with Thomas Ahrensman. He's going to be in P6. Nicholas Negueta in P7 with Justin Dijkstra in P8. Sebastian Erdmann in P9 with Lucas Vendela in P10. Martin Pruka there in P11 is going to be followed up by Chris Thornton. And Luca Conti was there, but may have been an issue for the Lamborghini drivers. I don't see him on the grid at the moment. It's going to be Sasha Ruppel instead in that P13 position with Cohen Hay in P14. Peter Parnell is going to be lining up in P15 in that Aston Martin, and followed up by Jasper Van Bergen, who's already taken a detour to the pits. Casper Arlid here in P17 with Andrew Harvey in P18. That will be the lowest Mercedes on the grid, but, well, overtaken or undertaken by Jasper Van Bergen, who seems to be moving down. Max Van Laar in P18 will be followed up by the number 6 of Ryan Daniels in the Audi. The lone Audi on the grid today, may I add. Maciej Nixier in P20. He's going to be followed up by Marcus Lawrence, who's got a lot of work to do in today's race, as wasn't able to get a quali lap in there. Miguel Fonseca in P22 with Marin Dijkstra in P23. Again, Jasper Van Bergen decided to take a detour to the pits early on. So, as we go through the whole order there, we take a look back at the top spot, and that belongs to Vincent Erbrich here in P1. He's going to lead Harry Spears down into the first corner, but he's got to fend off Jordan Burroughs and Joe McCauley, as well as Machihaila, who are all hot on the heels of the drivers in front, seeing what they can do to get through as we start the PCDC ACC GT3 Season 11, Round 6 at Suzuka. A few more rounds to go here for this season, it appears, and I think it's the next 2 weeks as well, so something to look forward to as we close out our Saturday evening with a nice, beautiful evening race, turning into a night race here at Suzuka. Just a little background music for the ambiance. Again, just myself, Curbsy, in the booth today for this race, but I'm really looking forward to it. Hopefully we can see some good battling as well, as we see everybody with the amateur badges. That's not reflecting of any form of skill level or classes for today's race. There was a bit of a server issue there that has led us to this now, and I know the coordinators are going to be coordinating a lot after this race to determine everybody's finishing position and where they should end up in the point standing. So here we go, across the pit entry now to line up for the start of this race. So it's Vincent to lead the way from Harry Spears. We have green flag conditions. We are underway at the start of the race. Again, it's 2 Mercedes leading the way, quickly closed off there by the lead Mercedes of Vincent Erbrich. It looks like everything's okay behind, though look at Machihaila trying to get up the inside of Joe McCauley, and he's able to do it through turn 2 and the exit down into turn number 3. That BMW is going to concede position, though he goes up the inside, shows the nose just a bit there, and has to battle back in behind that Ferrari in front. Elsewhere on the grid, looks like a little bit of movement behind, but you can see everybody now going single file as we come through the middle stages of sector number 1. Marcus Lawrence a bit further down the road here at this restart, we'll call it. Vincent way up the road already from the drivers behind. A great start from that AMG Mercedes as they go through the corners now. It's top 3 Mercedes, everybody else in a different car, but These Mercedes have led the way brilliantly once again, very quick throughout this circuit. Machihaila up one position into P4 for today's race. Joe McCauley found himself caught out through turn number 2, and a beautiful overtake there from the Ferrari. Saw a bit of a promotion. And it looks like Nogueira as well there, holding on to P7 at the moment from Erdmann. Also in a Bentley there, something to keep an eye out for. And again, until we get into the little bit of vibe of things, we see a challenge now. Looks like there was a Ferrari mixed up in that battle. So is that Arlid just ahead of these guys here? As I thought I saw somebody closing in there for a moment. I think it was Arlen closing in on that Audi, but seems to have backed off just a little bit. Harry Spears almost a second behind Urbrick through the first lap. He's got to be careful here at the start to not lose too much pace, or else he's going to have to worry about Jordan Burroughs behind. Machihaila has been dropped by a second already. Look at Joe McCauley pushing, though. Is this going to be attempted an overtake right at the restart? This is sunset. We are in the evening hours of this race. It will only get darker from here just to make it more challenging for myself. And here's the BMW now challenging the Ferrari ahead down into turn number 1. It's a good run there for Joe McCauley. He's going to go around the outside and closed off by Machihaila. Nice positioning by the Ferrari, but is there a challenge back? No, there's not just yet. A nice little move there, a defensive move, I should call it, for Machihaila to hold on to that position from a hard-charging Joe McCauley in that BMW. Erdmann closing in on the Bentley ahead. Also in a Bentley there. Two black Bentleys going at it. The number 759 and the number 107. Challenging one another. Looks like Vendela is close as well. We're being closed in on. Oh no, that was him getting through. Is that Parnell dropping down the order? No. Looks like I get a bit caught out by those. Back up front, it's still Vincent Urbrick up front. He's already over a second clear from Harry Spears behind. This is good pace early on from that AMG leading the way. And how about Jordan Burroughs keeping close? Morgan, I recognize your name. I think I've broadcasted a race that you've been involved in. If you were... I don't feel it's right to mention other leagues. I did so earlier and felt bad about it. But I think I've broadcasted a race that you were a part of, if I can remember correctly. I might be wrong there. As here is Machihaila still fending off Joe McCauley. This is the battle I want to keep an eye on right now, as this is for P4 at the moment. I apologize. My German Shepherd is barking in the background. It's a little bit excited whenever somebody comes nearby, but I don't want to tune out from this battle right now, as we still have Joe McCauley closing in on Machihaila down towards turn number 1. It's going to be a mirror match of what happened just a lap ago, though just a bit further back is the BMW of Joe McCauley from Machihaila in that P4 position. 2/10 now separate the drivers in P4 and P5. Harry Spears looks to have set the fastest lap of the race so far. It's a 59.5 for him. No, it's a 59.2 is the fastest lap, though that was invalidated for Vincent Urbrick. So already some track warnings given to the Mercedes leading the way for this race. Here he is as we go on board for a moment. The rear wing of Vincent, just to get an idea of what kind of gap we're looking at between P1 and P2. It's still everything to play for up front. Yeah, Morgan, I thought it was PPR, but I could be wrong about that. It could have been another league. So I've broadcasted for 4 or 5 leagues. But this one seems to be bringing some good racing right now. PCDC Motorsports bringing the best of them up front. It's going to be Vincent Urbrick still leading the way here just a couple of laps in. We're only 5 minutes into this hour-and-a-half long race. And there's been some good battling between Machihaila and Joe McCauley, though Joe has lost a little bit on this lap. Look at him. He's over a second behind Machihaila, and is that Hyla improving or Joe just making a mistake there? Let's move down the grid a little bit. It looks like that's Nicholas Nogueira closing in on Aaronsman now. So Nogueira was being pushed by the Bentley of Erdmann, and now seems to be pushing the McLaren in front. And yes, I will get through all of the grid here in a moment, but didn't want to miss out on that possible overtake for P4, as that could have been electric, but thanks, Joe. You messed it up for me, as this Bentley seems to be closing in. Is he going to have enough pace to close in for a potential overtake down here into turn number 1? It's the McLaren in P6, Bentley in P7, and not showing the nose just yet, just a little bit off of where he is needed at the moment to make that overtake. Here's Peter Parnell, sandwiched between a couple of cars. Look how close they all are here. Single file line going down. It's almost like they have DRS from the Formula 1 side of things with how this is going so far, but it's Peter Parnell behind Arnold. Oh, I apologize. I've been pronouncing that incorrectly the whole day. Oh, and there's a car off there. It's one of the... Is that a Ferrari off? Is that Arnold, the driver that I was just talking about? I apologize to him, as he's now in the gravel trap. And looks like there's an issue for the Ferrari driver. Maybe I've seen you from the iRacing side of things then, Morgan. That would make more sense. Maybe that's where I recognize the name from. And that's down the order a bit for Arnold, as a mistake there costs him quite a few positions. What's that? About 6-7 positions or so. I think I have that replay saved. I don't know if everything went up appropriately, but we'll see here. It's still Machihila in P4. Apologies again, as the dog decides he wants to go on guard duty for the first time today. Apologies for that one again as we come through the chicane now. Had to turn away for a moment. It's Chris Thornton here in P11. He's being challenged by Colin Hay there in P12. And look out for Martin as well in P13. Seems to be closing in on the driver ahead there. So 3 different manufacturers going at it for the moment. And this seems to be a good 3-way battle here for this P11 position. Further up the grid, Nicholas still staying close to Ahrensman ahead. And down the order a bit, it's opening up just a little bit more, though. Dijkstra's moved down the order because there's 2 Dijkstras in the race. That couldn't be more confusing for myself, but P19 for Maren Dijkstra at the moment is challenging the Aston Martin of Peter Parnell ahead. So Parnell caught up in a lot of action early on in this race. And from what I'm seeing so far, Joe McCauley seems to be improving massively on this lap. You can see he's closed that delta down to nearly under a second once again, as it did widen a bit there. Harry Spears has fallen 2 seconds now behind Vincent for that P1 position. And he's got to be careful, because this could be Vincent running away with it early, though we still aren't sure what the strategies are just yet, as we do have a mandatory pit stop. And speaking of that, it's Ahrensman into the pits. And we'll see here as he drops all the way down to P22 for the moment. And we'll take his pit stop early on here. Just out of curiosity, let me see if this replay is working correctly. It looks like it is. And you can still take a look at the bottom left for the live action that's going on. We're on board with Harry Spears in the bottom. This was a little bit of a replay there of Harold rejoining the track, so he had an issue, but seems everything's been sorted there for the Ferrari drivers. He's back up into P21 already. He'll have Fonseca to worry about next a bit further down the grid. Joe McCauley now 6/10 behind Machihila ahead. Machihila had a pretty disappointing lap there. He's 5/10 down at the moment. Oh, and a wheel disconnect we're hearing from Potash. Potash, I'm not sure who you are in the race, but I'm sorry to hear that. Not sure if you were Arnold who went off. Oh, Thomas Ahrensman. Okay, that makes sense. I was wondering why you were in the pits there. You were part of the front runners. So here's Joe McCauley challenging, though, as we've had Ahrensman now go out with a wheel disconnect. But we got Joe McCauley really pressuring the Ferrari ahead. And that Ferrari ahead is going to be Machihila sitting in that P4 position. We go on the rear wing view now of this Ferrari. And let's see how he fares through the next couple of corners into the Degners. Turns 8 and 9 will lead us into that hairpin, and while you might not see many overtakes through here, I've seen one or two in the past, though it doesn't look like he's close enough just yet, but look at him closing in ever so slightly. You can really gain a tenth or two if you hit that just right, and it looks like Joe did there. He's still all over the rear wing of Machihila ahead, and this is not easy for Machihila to fend off. He's already done so brilliantly a couple of times, but here they're still pressuring one another through. And that's Thomas Ahrensman letting us know that the power cable fell out of his wheel. That is so unfortunate, as he looked to be going on for a great race result in the top 10 here if everything was held up nicely. Marcus Lawrence now in the pits as well. And here's Joe McCauley pressuring along the Ferrari ahead. You can just see the Bentley of Nogueira. He's up at a P6 now because of that disconnect. And Joe here just pressuring the best that he can to the Ferrari ahead. Again, might I add that we're not sure of the strategies that drivers have gone with. Is this light fuel? Is this full? Is this medium? You never really know the true pace until we get towards the end of the race, but this seems to be bringing some nice racing between the BMW and the Ferrari of McCauley and Hyla right now. They've been pressuring each other for the last 13 minutes or so to the start of this race. Casper Arlid, he's back racing once again, and there he goes up the inside of the BMW there, but he makes a mistake, and that mistake will cost him a position. He takes the escape road and should be happy that he's not Alain Prost, or else that might have more to see from the stewards. P20 for Arlid, though he's dropping down. He did nice to recover there, and he's going to be P21 behind Van Bergen now, I think, right? Yes, there he goes into P21. It's a nice little recovery there to back out of it and realize he wasn't going to make the corner. But a nice, ambitious overtake attempt for Arnold there, down in P21 now. Nicholas Nogueira, he's trying to close in on this battle between Joe and Machihila, maybe take advantage of any form of incident that could pop up. Jordan Burroughs, he's still sitting in P3 at the moment, a second and a half adrift from Harry Spears. And Harry Spears, well, he's 3 seconds down the road already from Vincent Erbrick up there in P1. So how about this start to the race? We're seeing Jordan Burroughs start to close in on the driver ahead and really making no headway right now at the race leader. As here's Joe McCauley still closing in ever so slightly to Machihila ahead. Into 130R they go, one-handed if you're Charles Leclerc. And can't do so just yet, any form of an overtake, but down into turn 1, will we see anything? That's really the main place that you're going to see any form of challenging going on. Again, apologies earlier on for the dog issue, but that seems to have been corrected. Here's Cohen Hay, just dropped a position there, I believe. Let's jump back up front and see Machihila and Joe McCauley through the first corner now. No attempt at an overtake just yet. Still so close between these two drivers. And pushing themselves through the first sector of this race. And normally this is the point in time where you'd see drivers start to separate themselves, but for how we stand at the moment, they're staying pretty close. Casper Arl, did he have an issue here? Because it looks like, oh, he's in P20 at the moment, still behind Van Bergen, who seems to be closing in on Fonseca for that P18 position. Any attempt here? Not quite, but staying right within that dirty air of the driver ahead. And some good pace there for the Mercedes driver to stay as close as he can to that BMW there. Elsewhere on the grid, Cohen Hay back in this battle with Chris Thornton ahead and Martin Prucha there as well. We've got Sasha Ruppel down here in P13 with Andrew Harvey. A bit further down the road in P14, he's got a nice little antenna going there as well. Look at that, looking like E.T. coming through. And speaking of E.T., the extraterrestrial aliens of Vincent Erbrick, Harry Spears, Jordan Burroughs, Machihila, and Joe McCauley have really separated themselves from the grid. The top 5 are now 5 seconds clear, and some change, might I add, to that P6. But how about Harry Spears? He's 4 seconds clear alone from that P2 position. So Joe makes a mistake there. Just as we were switching camera angles, Joe seems to have lost a massive amount of time and will quickly be closed in on by Nogueira if he's not careful. Still in P5, though. Is little to worry about at the moment. Should be about 2 seconds behind Machihaila as they come across the line. Let's see, maybe a bit further back. So across the line there, yeah, just over 2 seconds. So let's see, Maren Dijkstra here in that P17 position. He's got Max Vendela ahead. Peter Parnell in P15. Somebody moving down the grid. Is that Miguel Fonseca? No, Machi Nix, who seems to have had an issue there in that Honda. The only Honda on the grid for Suzuka, nonetheless. Bit disappointing, might I add. So here's Fonseca pressuring Arnold just ahead here. Up at the top of the grid, it looks like Sebastian Erdmann. Oh, as here's Fonseca showing a nose up the inside of Arnold here. He's not going to be close enough for any overtake, but did that push the Ferrari out wide just out of fear of being overtaken? Doesn't appear so at the moment. Let's see how Vendelot's doing here in P9 in this BMW that I may have in the past called ugly, but I quite like it myself. Vendelot going with a nice... Is that almost a Ukrainian livery? I don't want to say that for him, but almost looks like it is a little bit off the colors, but close enough. Joe McCauley here in P5. He's still 2 seconds adrift from Machihaila. Trying to close in here as he was well within half a second of Machihaila ahead, but made that mistake into this corner. And we see him going through now, and seems he's corrected everything, and he's back on the power once again, closing in with within that 2 second margin. And let's see, Chris Thornton in P12 right now. Look at him closing in on going, hey, just ahead here for that P11 position. Where can these drivers make headway at as there's a Ferrari chasing down a BMW. We saw somebody take the escape road already. They didn't have to do it on this lap, though, as there's still pressure being mounted by this Ferrari. Looks like he's rounding out a bit wider there just to get a bit more of a slipstream down this pit straight here. And what can this Ferrari do down into turn number 1? At the moment, still neck and neck between the two in P11 and P12. Not close enough for a potential overtake. Back up front, it's still Vincent Erbrick. Nothing has changed here. He's really opened up that gap now. 5 seconds adrift is Harry Spears in that pink AMG Mercedes. Could this be a strategy call for Vincent that's launched him way out ahead in this race? Is he going to have to box early for some fuel? As we see Joe McCauley still in P5. Jordan Burroughs, he's sitting in P3 and doing so quietly as well, might I add. Andrew Harvey, he's in P14 at the moment with the antenna car, apparently, the AMG Mercedes. He's going to be about a second and a half down from Sasha there in P13, and he's got Peter behind to worry about as well at P15, but seems to be enough of a gap at the moment to not really threaten anything. How about Max Van Laar, though? He's being pressured by Dijkstra. There goes Dijkstra down the inside, and they're going to be side by side now going down towards the hairpin corner. It's going to be the outside line for Dijkstra. It's going to be the inside for Van Laar. And will there be a little bit of a push out here? No, not yet, but is there a switchback? The two McLarens now going neck and neck. And here we go through the next few corners now. We could still see some close battling here, and we're seeing just that at the moment. As still they go down towards the spoon curve, around the outside again. No, this looks like an alternate line from the McLaren behind to try and get through. And how about this? From Dijkstra, can't get through right there, backs out from Van Laar. Wanted to, couldn't have it. Not good enough, apparently. Not enough pressure. And there is still P16 and P17. It looks like Dijkstra is not done just yet, showing everything they have in their power to get through here. Down into 130R, showing the nose, not making an attempt at an overtake, but we've still got Casio Triangle and then turn 1 to fend off through the next couple of corners. Had some brilliant racing between these two. They knew it was close. They knew it was a game of inches there, and both drivers racing brilliantly to stay out of any form of danger, but still keep the pace up, though it seems it's allowed Van Bergen to close in just a little bit there, and maybe Dijkstra didn't have as much pace coming down that pit straight as they needed to, because we're going through Sector 1 now. Looks a bit further down. Made a good attempt through Spoon and a little bit of a nose poking through 130R, and there's a mistake from the McLaren of Van Laar. Is he still going to hold off the McLaren of Dijkstra behind? That was a 100% an issue there for the lead McLaren, and almost lost position through Sector 1. That is pretty rare coming through these corners. But now we go down into Degners 1 and 2. And this is where we tuned in a lap ago to see Dijkstra showing the nose up the inside for a potential overtake in this race. Can't do so on this lap, but Van Laar still holding off as we have a nice little double camera angle view of a couple battles going on. I'm looking at the timing towers. It looks like Joe McCauley is still closing in on Machiaila ahead. But right now we're on board with this battle for P16 in this race. It's Van Laar leading Dijkstra down towards Spoon. Once again they go. Will this be enough pace for the driver in P17 to get through? He's got to really get the foot down now. Can't do so just yet, but you can see the pace of that McLaren behind. Just looks like it wants to fight its way through. And this is some brilliant defending as well from Max Van Laar in this P16 position. So we go now down towards 130R. We all of a sudden have a three-way battle. It's Van Bergen involved in this as well. Apologies. He's in P18 right now. P16's Max Van Laar. Only about 5/10 separate those two positions as we have Dijkstra right in the middle. That's Maren Dijkstra, not to be confused with Justin, who's a bit further up the order in P8. So a stop-go 30-second penalty was just handed out to Errol there in P20. As here's the Mercedes. Is he going to attempt up the inside of Dijkstra? Not just yet, but you see Errol coming out the pit entry. He's going to be a lap down now. And that's an unfortunate penalty that was received there for Casper in P20. Not sure what happened, but they will have to make another trek through the pits. How about Machiaila and Joe McCauley going at it once again here? This is some good racing between these two as the gap has been dwindled down lap after lap by Joe. And will we see a potential overtake here? Maybe not down into 130R, but potentially into turn 1. Though here goes Joe closing in already. He's going to show the nose up the inside. No, he's going to back out of it just ever so slightly. If that was maybe a few hundred meters further back, he could have gotten through there in 130R, at least made an attempt. But here they go through the chicane now. And Joe McCauley still just behind the Ferrari of Machiaila. Machiaila doing a brilliant job to push through here and stay ahead of that BMW that's been ever so quick today. And which way is he going to go? It looks like a defensive line early for the Ferrari. Still going to hold that line. Here goes the BMW around the outside. Will there be enough pace? It looks like he braked way later. Did the BMW of Joe McCauley? He's still sitting there side by side with the Ferrari. Can't quite get through just yet. And through the S's of Sector 1, that was a mighty close battle and a mighty close chance at an overtake for Joe McCauley through turns 1 and 2. So Joe McCauley still 1.5 tenths down from Machiaila ahead. It's Vincent Erbrick leading the way up here in P1. He's got 12 laps down in this race as we near the half-hour mark. Harry Spears in that P2 position with Jordan Burroughs in P3. And that's not going to help Jordan Burroughs anymore for me because Joe's right near there. I'm going to keep saying Joe Burroughs. But I swear he's not a quarterback. So P14 for Harvey. He's improving by 0.3 a second on this lap. And he's got Ruppel a bit further up the order. Still keeping an eye on this battle between Dijkstra, Van Laar, and Van Bergen. Valiente team, apparently, for the McLaren of Dijkstra with Van Laar on Testudo. and windward racing for Jasper Van Bergen. So this is one Mercedes mixed in with a couple of McLarens here, and from what I've seen so far and from the history here at Suzuka, these Mercedes can be pretty quick here from that top speed. But take a look through the hairpin there. Is that going to be Dijkstra just looking a bit quicker, looking for a line to get through, and seeing maybe for the next couple of laps where they can go for a potential overtake? Still on board with Van Bergen here. Oh, and there goes the McLaren way wide. And here is the Mercedes coming through on the McLaren of Dijkstra. It's Van Bergen and Dijkstra all of a sudden battling for this P17 position when it appeared that Dijkstra was well on their way to P16. All of a sudden, they might be down to 18th. Down into 130R. It's going to be side by side as there was a little bit of bumping and grinding going on. Oh, and there he is off the track with a little bit of a spinner involved in there as well, or drifting. Perfect timing, perfect place to do it here at Suzuka to show us your Tokyo drift. And that was an absolutely beautiful save from Van Bergen. I wish we had an inside the cockpit view from that one, as that was just brilliant to see. Joe McCauley and Machi Hyla still going at it here. Van Bergen, wow, was able to hold on to that Mercedes brilliantly and still be in that P17 position and not too far adrift from Dijkstra, who made a mistake on the turn prior. So this has worked out well for Vendela, but they're still not that much further ahead of these drivers. Looks like everybody's deltas are starting to fall off just a bit, except for this driver right here, Chris Thornton. He's doing well to carry on in that car, but how about Joe McCauley and Machi Hyla going at it once again here for this P4 position? And if you're Machi Hyla right now, you've got to be sweating. He's been putting everything on the line. Mr. Cool Joe McCauley still in this P5 position at the moment, and he's really laying the pressure on now. And how about down into turn number one? It's a defensive line early once again for the Ferrari. Around the outside goes the BMW, brakes way late there, trying to hold on to that position. Can't do so just yet. Can he make a switchback here, though? He's trying to go up the inside. No, not just yet, but still ever so close between these two drivers through sector number one. And this has been incredible between Joe and Machi here. All right, so I think I was able to preserve a replay there. Let's take a look. Yeah, here you can see Joe and Machi still battling in the bottom left, but here was Dijkstra and Van Bergen down into 130R. You can see it didn't look like any contact between the two, but wow, what a save. He got right back on track, and he was underway so quickly. Let's just watch it once again as there's Joe off. So Joe goes off there. Oh, and what's going on? I was too distracted by the replay, and Joe has gone off. He's down behind Nogueira now, and I didn't even catch it. I apologize. I mean, it was displayed on there, so thankfully we'll be able to see it back. But Nogueira gets through for that P5 position. Joe McCauley now down to P6 in this race with Machi Hyla in P4. Up front, Jordan Burroughs in P3. He's been doing well so far, as well as Harry Spears in that P2 position. Look at Jordan Burroughs closing in, though, nearly under 2 seconds behind, with Vincent Erbrick leading the way. I wish I had the ability to make myself a Bloody Mary right now. It'd be nice. Nice little refreshment for this race. It's been a little bit stressful for me here with all this battling going on early. I feel like I'm missing everything. Lucas Vendela here in P8. He's got Martin Pruka just behind there in P9. Prucha, maybe? I apologize. Again, still learning everybody's names. But through 130R goes the number 8 Lexus. Just 0.6 adrift as Joe McCauley makes his mandatory pit stop for the race. And let's see, is that damage for Joe? Or is this just a scheduled pit stop here? Maybe finding a gap in the grid as well. And Vornum, I think as soon as you said he needs to go for the undercut, he went a little bit for the overcut. Went into the gravel, and that's where we saw that mistake happen. So here's still Pruka and Vendela battling for P7 in this race. Further down the grid, it's Van Laar still, believe it or not, battling off Dijkstra and Van Bergen as they go down towards turn number 1 now. What's going to happen between these couple of drivers is the Mercedes is lining up another potential overtake down at the turn number 1. We can see over the rear wing of the P14 of Van Laar. Oh, and there's a little bit of a drift for Dijkstra as well, but holds on to it nicely. And then loses a little bit of pace there. Joe McCauley still in the pits. Now a lap down from everybody down to P18 in this race. And I hope he's coming back out. There he is, joining the track once again. He'll be in P18 a bit further down the road from Fonseca in P17. And if I recall back to the start of this race, was Van Bergen not the driver that started from the pits as well? I know it seems he's only made it up a few positions because there's only 2 left, but Joe went off through sector number 1, and he has rejoined after a pit stop to be in P18. May have had some damage to repair there as well. Was battling hard with Machiaila, as is the case for those 2 drivers who love to be so competitive here. Cohen Hay seemed to be involved in something going on here, though. Looks to not be as much as I thought. Vendela holding off Prucha for that P7 position still as they come through. The S's now. And good driving once again from the BMW and Lexus. Here's Maren Dijkstra and Van Bergen. Oh, and a mistake from Van Laar. What did I miss there? So Van Laar now down the track. And these are the issues I'm talking about here. Just a bit rusty on the sticks, apparently, for Curbsy in the booth. Not paying as well attention as I should be to all of the battles going on. And Dijkstra and Van Bergen were able to get through Van Laar there, but I would assume that Van Laar had some sort of issue going on that caused that. Or not caused it, but caused himself to drop further down. So back up at the front of the grid, it's still Vincent Erberk leading the way for that P1 position right now. 10 seconds is the gap that has opened up just 35 minutes into this race. Absolutely flying along in that AMG, and it's not like it's car advantage here. Both Vincent and Harry are in the same car as well as Jordan Burroughs. Jordan Burroughs, might I add, doing a brilliant job here. He's in P3 for today's race. He's a second and a half off of Harry Spears. So the top 3 Mercedes are truly dominating, as was earlier guessed by one of the viewers. So good on you for that. Machiaila, 8 seconds adrift now from Jordan Burroughs, with Noguera there in P5. Justin Dijkstra, he's going to be in P6. And then you got Vandalot and Prucha with this battle going on at the moment. Elsewhere on the grid, your battle is still going to be between Dijkstra and Van Bergen. Will that battle calm down a little bit? Doesn't appear so just yet as they hunt down towards 130R. This is where we saw Van Bergen go off a few laps ago. He's caught all the way back up to the rear wing of Dijkstra, and both of them have actually gotten through Van Laar now. So advantage Dijkstra at the moment, as there's a huge mistake from Dijkstra, and Van Bergen will be able to get through there. And Van Laar will as well. Where is Fonseca? Miguel Fonseca coming through 130R now. Will he be able to carry enough speed to get up to Maren Dijkstra? Doesn't appear so just yet. So just 2 positions dropped for Dijkstra in this race. It's Van Bergen, Van Laar who are able to get through after an issue into the Casio triangle. We'll be able to take a look at that replay here in a moment, as Vandalot still just ahead into the hairpin from Prucha there in P8. Cohen Hay down in P9. Let's see how he's faring so far. So in that BMW as well. And here's Vincent coming through once again, the first corner. I always feel bad for the driver that leads this brilliantly because they don't get as much screen time as maybe they feel they deserve, but we know it's truly dominant fashion so far. So 12 seconds is nearly the gap now between Vincent and Harry, and Spears leading the way from Jordan Burroughs for that P2 position. Jordan's been closing lap after lap here. Will he be able to mount an overtake attempt in just a little bit of time here? We'll stay on board with this battle down into turn number 1 to see if there's any potential overtake, but here's the Lexus going through on home turf as well, correct? Down into turn number 1 from the BMW just ahead there. Into the braking zone. No attempt at an overtake just yet, so everything stays kosher for the drivers in P7 and P8 as well as all of the drivers ahead. Chris Thornton right now seems to be closing in on Cohen Hay ahead. But P9 for the BMW driver seems to be a good position to be at right now. Joe McCauley, how's he making out coming back out on track? Looks like he is through on Fonseca. He's got Dijkstra to worry about next, and then Van Laar and Van Bergen as well. Both of those drivers have been quick today, so good luck to him. The drivers that we have out so far in this race, Thomas Ahrensman, he had a wheel disconnect issue. You got Marcus Lawrence out as well as Maciej Nix, Sebastian Erdmann, Casper Arold, and Ryan Daniels all out of this race. I don't think I'm missing anybody just yet, but unfortunate disconnects early on cause some issues there, but we're back racing once again, and it's still Harry Spears in P2 here from Jordan Burroughs. So let's go back to this replay. Yeah, a bit unfortunate. So we take a look down into the Casio Triangle. What kind of action do we have here? Late on the brakes, but maybe no brakes at all there. Let's watch that one more time. And I couldn't even see the brakes light up for Dijkstra, who you see is the lead car here. He's got Van Bergen behind in the Mercedes. Down into the Casio Triangle, and they do light up just ever so slightly. And just driver error, it seems, unfortunately, for Maren Dijkstra there, who... Dijkstra back into P16 right now. Still down those 2 positions, but only 6 seconds adrift. So not too bad, you have to say, for one of the Dijkstras. The other Dijkstra in the race, P6, it stands right now for the McLaren of Justin. Coming through turn number 2 now into turn number 3. And look either side of that McLaren, and there is a bunch of open track. Marcus, that's unfortunate. I guess I did say disconnect. I should just say DNF from the race. I knew you were out. I didn't know how, so apologies for that. But a lot of those drivers I mentioned may not have been technically disconnects, but just DNFs from the race. Here's Harvey down into turn number 1 again with a nice alien antenna there. And back up at the top of the grid, it's Vincent Erbrick. Why don't we go on board for a minute, and I'll take a nice little breather as we watch the race leader. So apparently, that's how you drive here at Suzuka. It's good to know for me, as again, just taking a quick little break there, getting a couple sips of some acai. It is a Japanese beer that I wanted to purchase for today's race. That's made in Italy, apparently, so delicious, might I add, but not sponsored, of course, as Vincent Erbrick still leading the way out front here and showing us just how to get around this circuit so quickly, as there's another overtake of a lap driver. I believe that's Fonseca down in P18 at the moment that he gets through. Harry Spears and Jordan Burroughs just kind of looking out for one another here, staying close as possible, and I'm not sure whether this is Harry or Jordan controlling the pace here, but Jordan seems like he's closed in about 5/10 on this lap, nearly under a second behind. So good effort from the Mercedes to attack another Mercedes here, as Vincent Erbrick 21 laps down, nearing the halfway point in this race and showing absolute dominance so far. The only driver from the leaders to pit so far is Joe McCauley, but we've got Martin Prucha in there as well. He's exited, and is he ahead of Joe? Oh, there's Joe further up the road, I believe. Yeah, Marcus, I'm aware that Mercedes can be a bit quick on this track specifically, although I just recall that from prior races here and some other leagues, and I don't know how much has changed in the ACC world, the meta of the ACC world, since I've last streamed 6 months ago, but it appears the Mercedes are still good here. Mirko P, who would have thought? Well, at least it's 3 Mercs up front, so that way they can at least fight one another and not say it's car advantage for them. And nobody tell Van Bergen and Harvey about the Mirko P thing, though they're doing very well in their own right. Speaking of Van Bergen, he's a second now behind Peter Parnell, so this is a battle we haven't seen for a while. It's Van Bergen closing in on another driver. He was able to get through both Vendela and Dijkstra through the last, let's call it 10 minutes or so, as there was a couple mistakes there. And now the Mercedes, who has been, some would say mistake-free, but not me, because I refuse to commentate curse somebody, down into turn number 1, goes a bit of a different route there, but all over the rear wing of the driver in P10 at the moment. It's now we have Cohen Hay, Vandalot, and Rupa all into the pits at the moment, as well as the race leader in the pits, Vincent Erbrick. So we may have a new race leader for the first time in today's race in just a moment's time. As soon as they get through the pits there, it looks like that has been accomplished. So Harry Spears will now lead the way from Vincent Erbrick, not being shown on screen due to a pit overtake. Never exciting. But Jordan Burroughs, he's only 5/10 behind, as there's a driver coming out of the pits doing well to stay within that pit exit line. Back on board with Parnell for this now P9 position as they all get through on the one-time race leader. And I think I see that 33 still in the pits here. So let's take a look and make sure he's getting underway okay. And there he is, drops down the anchors and underway for the Mercedes. Let's see where he's going to come out on track now. Looks like way ahead of the 71. That's going to be Thornton, the next driver down the order. And I just wanted a frame of reference. I'm wondering where Joe McCauley is, the number 18 car. I can see him. He's just out of Spoon now. So with Joe McCauley coming out of Spoon, it's about a half a lap down on Vincent Erbrick, who's had a ridiculous race so far. Here's Harry Spears leading the way as they get through some lap drivers, both him and Jordan Burroughs. It looks like that's Vendela, I believe, that they were able to get through on. And now that the drivers are moving all over the order, it's difficult for me to find everybody. There's Vendela in P15. So Peter Parnell here in P8 with Van Bergen just ahead there. Oh, and Jordan Burroughs closing in on Harry Spears for the race lead now, as there was a little bit of an off there. And then BMW braking quite late there and staying very close to the two Mercedes ahead. But look at the launch there as they both launch into the pits. And now will Machi Hyla, he will become the race leader. So P3 becomes P1 in a moment's time. And how much further down the road is Erbrick? Wow, what a race for this Mercedes here. It's the 213 of Machi Hyla who takes the race lead here down into turn number 1. 43 minutes into this race. Obviously, we have to take pit stops into account, but what a start for him to this race, or halfway through this race, to be able to still fight up there at the front. Machi Hyla, a driver that I've watched for quite some time now, gotten used to that old PCDC livery that he used to run on that Ferrari, and it's a little bit different now. I'm used to seeing Marcus Lawrence out there as well, but joining us in chat now, apparently. Didn't want to race any further, I assume, Marcus, as Harvey picks up a stop-go 30-second time penalty. And with this halfway mark reached, we've had over half of the grid conduct their mandatory pit stops. And Jordan Burroughs now joins the track. Where is Harry? Wow, so was that a quick stop from Harry Spears? It was. A way quick stop from Harry Spears. Finds himself in P2, provisionally P1. Am I right in that? Or is he still... He is. So Harry Spears is ahead of Vincent Erbrick. And was that a strategy call for Harry to be losing a little bit of pace there? Just a quick splash and dash at the halfway point. Finds himself in the provisional lead of this race. We still have Machi Hyla, who's out front. But wow, what a strategy call for Harry. 42 minutes left in this race. And he's leading the way. What is the gap now? It's showing 8.5 seconds. I'm wondering if that's true time. Sorry, I'm so focused on that. If I miss anything right now, including this battle between Van Bergen, and that looks like Joe McCauley. There it is. So Joe McCauley's worked his way back up into P8 in this race. He's got Noguera still ahead, but side by side down towards Degner's 1 and 2 goes Joe McCauley and Van Bergen. Here they are fighting it out, duking it out. And Joe McCauley trying to get through Degner 2 now. He's going to go up the inside. No, he backs out of it as he saw the AMG go off just a bit there. And the M-Series car just wanted to back out of that battle a bit, but now they go down into the hairpin. Will this be another attempt at an overtake? Joe seems like he has a little bit more pace right now, and there goes the AMG running way wide, and Joe McCauley is able to get through up into that P7 position for the moment. And he is a pit stop ahead as well. So Joe McCauley now free to chase down Nicholas Noguera there in P6. Noguera, there you have an idea of where he's at on track. Remember, Joe McCauley, he pitted way early in this race. I think it was at maybe the 25-minute mark, maybe 30-minute mark he pitted. And now we have 40 minutes to go, and he's out there with his mandatory stop out of the way and hunting down the race leader. So Harry Spears has lost about a second this lap, or this past lap. But that was also his out lap, so keep that in mind. 7.5 seconds or so, let's call it, separates Erbrick and Spears. About 24 laps into this race. Machi Hyla, he's still leading the way. P1, is he going long in this race? Trying to get a little bit more of an advantage at the end. So let's see, here's Harry Spears coming through the hairpin now. Where's Vincent at? He's entering the hairpin, coming through. This looks close already. A second is cut out of Harry Spears' potential race lead, or should we call it provisional race lead there, as he sits P2 behind Machi Hyla, who has not conducted his mandatory pit stop. With 40 minutes to go in this race, still everything to grab up front here. Any issue for any of these drivers could throw everything out the window. Van Bergen seems like he's always involved in a battle, still staying close as he can to Joe McCauley ahead. He's got Peter Parnell behind. Where's Jordan Burroughs, though? So Burroughs running more of the strategy that Erbrick is running, and Spears running his own strategy. Don't really have anybody to compare him with because of how quick that pit stop was. And look at this. Down in P11 and P12, we have two Dijkstras. Not necessarily fighting one another, but nice to see there's nothing that separates the two, other than a pit stop. So Urbrick still in P3 here. Look at him closing out. Is that 2 seconds in that past lap, I believe, correct? Or 2.5 seconds almost between Vincent and Harry. So we still have 5 drivers have yet to pit in this race. It's going to be Machi Hyla, Thornton. That's Chris Thornton there. We've got Jasper Van Bergen, Peter Parnell, and Maren Dijkstra have all yet to pit in this race. They do have to get that mandatory pit stop out of the way, or else obviously they're disqualified. Or is it time added, Marcus? Who will win, I wonder. I'm wondering, is that a full disqualification for no pit stop? I am interested to see during as we wind down here. I know there's 35 minutes to go, and Urbrick has been closing massively on Harry Spears, but it's one thing to catch, another to overtake, blah, 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 that old thing, but it truly is. As they get closer and closer between one another here, will we see a little bit more power edge in for Harry Spears as he burns off more fuel? I don't know. With no tires gained, it's going to be difficult for him, but I reckon that was his only attempt to grab the race win here, and a valiant one at that. But might he have sacrificed too much, because Jordan Burroughs is not too far behind as well? So Vendela down in P11. He's going to be just behind Dijkstra by a few seconds or so. I'm not seeing anybody battling very closely right now. Your closest battle seems to be Noguera, who is being hunted by Joe McCauley, actually. So Joe McCauley, remember, it feels like an hour ago now, but probably about 40 minutes ago or so, maybe 30 minutes at this point, he had a huge off there battling with Machi Hyla for that P4 position in this race, and it was captured on stream, though I just missed it. So we'll be able to see what happened there in the replay. But for Joe McCauley, he pitted early there. I'm sure took some more fuel, took some fresh tires maybe, and now is still closing in on the driver ahead. I'm showing a 10-second gap, but on my monitor, I'm showing a way closer gap than that. So I'm wondering, okay, a couple issues there. Nonetheless, still closing in. Machi Hyla leading the way. 26 laps have been done so far as we start lap number 27, rounding the final corner now, is Machi Hyla. And only 2 seconds, just under 3 actually seconds, separate Harry Spears and Vincent Urbrick for this P2 position there. You can see him on the same screen once again. You know what? I forget for the moment what replay I had saved here. Oh, was this? Yeah, this was Maren Dijkstra going way deep into the corner. Take a look at that once again. Just, wow. Unfortunate there for Maren Dijkstra, but we're still racing here for PCDC Motorsports. And this is unbelievable. It's season 11. This is round 6 at Suzuka. A few more weeks to go here in the PCDC Motorsports League. If you'd like to join, go ahead and follow that link that you see at the bottom of the screen. Get signed up here to join at the Discord link. So, Harry Spears in this P2 position, Vincent Urbrick in that P3 position. Everything to play for now, and Vincent really has everything to lose here. He's the quicker driver, as 5-6 seconds have been cut out in the last 5 minutes, so he's going to close in massively, and is the pace differential just enough where battling won't be as difficult as maybe otherwise, due to the no tire change. So I'm also looking, we now have 3 drivers have yet to pit. It's going to be Parnell, Thornton, and Hyla. Still the race leader. He's 30 seconds ahead of Harry Spears now, and Harry Spears has been losing time. I'm not sure, Marcus, how much time do you lose for a splash and dash here? There's 30 minutes to go, so could Machi Hyla take it all the way to the last couple of minutes and just do a quick splash and dash? Now just over a second separates Urbrick and Spears. Here they go towards 130R. Will they be in a different position a lap from now? It's going to be between Urbrick and Spears. Let's see, down through the Casio triangle, we see one Mercedes leading another for this P2 position. Provisionally P1, pending everything goes well for them, but Jordan Burroughs there as well to challenge in a moment's time. Here they are, down towards turn number 1. They have a lap driver to worry about as well. I think that's Sasha Ruppel there in P13. Down towards turn number 1. No attempt at an overtake just yet. Here's Vincent Urbrick with so much pace through here. Is this Harry Spears trying to back up in the S's? That's really the only valid thing I can think of, is try to back up Urbrick maybe into another driver, but there's nobody really within distance. Jordan Burroughs, who seemed close, is 20 seconds down the road, but here is Urbrick. He's closing in ever so slightly, corner after corner on the pink Mercedes ahead, or the pink whip, as Harry Spears would like it to be known. We go on the rear wing through Degner's 1 and 2 now. And now fighting down towards the hairpin, it's still going to be Harry Spears leading the way from Urbrick. They get through on the lap driver, who does a nice job to get out of the way there and not interfere with what he knows is a leader battle at the moment. 2 AMGs fighting it out. AMG getting some good sponsorship time right now as we're looking at that rear wing of the pink whip. And we got Urbrick challenging behind down into the spoon corner. We go through, and it's still going to be Harry Spears leading the way. Urbrick closing in, corner after corner. Will he have a nice enough run down towards 130R now? I'd say that was his best attempt, or is his best attempt, is to get through on the straight and not make it a challenge through the corners, because these Mercedes, it seems you can park them as boats. And through 130R, now they go. Spears knows he's not close enough, so Urbrick backs out of the challenge of showing his nose down to the Casio triangle. Shows the nose just a bit. Goes down nicely just behind, and this might be good for Sasha to watch behind as well. See how the leaders are doing it. No matter how much you watch, though, it's difficult to actually be there. And these 2 drivers, well, they're there right now. It's going to be Spears and Urbrick down at the turn number 1. Once again, we go. Is there an attempt up the inside? No, not just yet, but we go through turn number 1. It looks like Urbrick is so close behind, and he's trying to get through here through sector number 1. He's losing time lap after lap. The closer that the longer he takes to get through here, the closer Jordan Burroughs is going to be. Though 20 seconds was the gap a lap ago, 20 seconds is the gap this lap. I think I'm gonna send it, mate. Was that Carlos Sainz? And through Dagner's 1 and 2, here they go once again. 2 Mercedes battling it out neck and neck. If this doesn't make you smile, I don't know what will. 2 leaders going at it right now. Not to mention Machi Hyla still leading the way, but in P2 and P3, it's Spears and Urbrick. Here they go through the hairpin now. It looks so close between the 2. He can't get through just yet. And here they fight all the way down the long right-hander towards the spoon curve. And will we see a little bit of a different line there, as look how close Urbrick is going to be behind Harry for this P2 position. And he's got so much pace in that Mercedes, trying to show the nose there. And look at him back him up. Oh, and that was definitely a backup there for Harry Spears. Just seemed like he laid off the throttle a bit. And look at him taking the defensive route already up towards 130R, trying to get the slipstream as Vincent, and Harry Spears doing everything in his power to stay in front right now. Everything in his power and more. Wow, this has been truly phenomenal between these two drivers to stay in this battle for a couple of laps now. Harry Spears and Vincent Erbrick bringing the entertainment. So here we go down towards turn number 1. No attempt just yet. He shows the nose, backs out of it. I think maybe showed the nose a little too late there. Maybe show what you're going for early and throw your opponent off the line, though I probably shouldn't open my mouth because there's no way I could do it. So we're over an hour into this race, and we still have a battle for the provisional race lead. Jordan Burroughs, meanwhile, has caught up 3 seconds. Oh, and look at that. Spears, once again, backing up Erbrick, who seems to have just a bit more pace there, but because of the tire differential as well as the pace differential, it has caused some issues there for him. I agree with that one, Marcus. I saved the replay from Spoon because I wanted to rewatch that. Let's go down into the hairpin once again. Oh, and they're ever so close once again. An alternate line and a little bit of a switchback. No, he blocks it off. And that is Harry Spears parking his car exactly where he needs to. And I'm okay with that. I mean, he's throwing his car right in the middle of the corner. This is for the provisional race lead. And look how close they are nudging each other along. Here we go through Spoon once again. It's going to be, is it going to be a mirror image of a lap ago? No, not just yet. As he backs out of it. So there's Machiaila. He's into the pits. I'll quickly switch over to him just to show you. Into the pits goes the Ferrari. We've got Harry Spears and Vincent Erbrick. They're going to be battling. 27 minutes to go. I agree, Marcus. He's got to get creative here through 130R. He's got to come up with something different. What I would say is that we say creative, but maybe go old school. Just a little switchback. Just show the nose and come back across the other side. It's an attempt to get through. Harry Spears has put on an absolute clinic, though, right now, of staying in this position. This is Fernando Alonso in Hungaroring, something along those lines, as there's a much quicker Mercedes behind, but he is staying ahead at the moment. And there it is. A little bit of a switchback has shown him through, and it looks like Vincent Erbrick will be able to get up into that P2 position, and no matter how valiantly he fought, Harry Spears falls down into P3, which both of those positions will be promoted once. Machiaila gets through the next order. Wow, that was exactly what he needed. Just a simple under-over, over-under, and he got through. So Harry Spears drops to what will become P2 once everything gets set in order, and Erbrick will go into P1. But look at that. I mean, Spears was 10 seconds down. Oh, and a drive-through penalty. He looked like he was driving straight there. Oh, that's so unfortunate. It seemed okay. I don't know what that was, but a drive-through penalty for Harry Spears nonetheless. Oh, and at least it came after the brilliant battle that we saw, because that was just gorgeous to watch. And Vincent Erbrick truly running away with this one. Now, how about Machiaila, though? Is he ahead of Jordan Burroughs? It appears that he is. The number 69, nice, of Jordan Burroughs is down in P4 behind Machiaila. And this P3 could become a P2 as well for Hyla. So a great race for him. And Joe McCauley, I bet, is pretty upset about this, because this could have been a P2 as it stands right now. But he had that off earlier on. That, again, I apologize for broadcasting it. Just didn't see what happened. Nicholas Negueta there. He's closing in on Chris Thornton. And Chris Thornton's up in P5 right now, obviously taking the longer stint in that Ferrari. He's holding off for that position from Nicholas Negueta, who's in the 107 Bentley, trying to close down towards 130R now. And that's a dangerous place to overtake, thinks the better of it, and stays out at the moment. Harry Spears, you can see that little P next to that +1 lap. That's him taking his drive-through penalty into the pit. So all these drivers will be promoted a position. Chris Thornton, he's got a box. Oh! And there's near contact between Negueta and Chris Thornton going into the box. And I mean, that has to be Negueta. You have to think about that going into the pits. right? You have to know that, yeah, he hasn't pitted yet. It's an hour and 5 minutes into the race, but it could come any lap now. So, whew, close from Nogueira, but brilliant reaction time saves him from any incident. Good on him. He's up P5 in this race. He's got Joe McCauley, who's closed 5 seconds in the last 10 minutes. So look out for McCauley and Nogueira to fight it out in the next few laps or so. Also, I'd like to see where Harry Spears ends up after his drive-through penalty. He's still ahead. No, where is he at? Yeah, he's still ahead of Nogueira. Okay, coming down towards the hairpin now as we're trying to get... All right, so 7 seconds, nearly 8 seconds clear. And Machihaila, he's in P2 right now. Why don't we take a look? I take a breather. We'll take a look at this replay that we had stored. Not sure what it is. Oh, it's this one. So this was the backup from Harry Spears. And what happened here? Did that not look like a little bit of a backup from Harry Spears there? I don't think there was anything naughty in it. Just an observation. I mean, that's just strong-armed racing right there. So Peter Parnell will be the last driver to serve his mandatory pit stop this race, pending he does so, obviously. His stop-go 32nd has been handed out to Chris Thornton there in P10. And Chris Thornton's definitely throwing me off if you're a hockey fan. Chris Thornton played for the Boston Bruins, and they wear black and yellow, and he's racing in the black and yellow. Could it be? Could it be a potential overtake for Martin Prucha there up the inside? No, not just yet. In that Lexus, though, he's looking pretty quick there, pretty racy. All of a sudden wants to get through. Look out for Jordan Burroughs closing in on Machihaila as well, just over a second behind the Ferrari driver, but Machihaila has put on a defensive clinic as well. Let's not count him out from having a brilliant day here, because not only has he put on a defensive clinic, he's been the race leader, the only other race leader than Vincent Erbrick, who's back up into where he feels he belongs for the day. That P1 position in the number 33 AMG on the 33rd lap, on the 33rd day of February, comes through 130R. Still leading massively here. So there's Chris Thornton. He's serving his stop-go 30-second penalty in the pits. Machihaila definitely going to have to start defending from Jordan Burroughs here in a moment. Jordan Burroughs running a neat little livery today. Marcus, could you confirm that these are custom liveries? Did the upload work correctly from the 69 nice car? Oh, okay. I thought I had them all uploaded. Apologies to all of you out there that had custom liveries. I sworn I uploaded them. Didn't really have a way of checking, unfortunately. But either way, cares about the livery at the moment. The racing we've seen has been beautiful. If you've noticed, between all of these battles that we've had, there's really been no incidents that have been caused because of collision. The incidents have all been forced by another driver with nice positioning. Oh, understood, Marcus. Okay, no worries. And Joe McCauley, he's closed another couple of seconds to Nicholas Nogueira, but look at that. He's got a couple of lap drivers to get through here as well. Is that Vendela? No, it's not Vendela. That looks like it's going to be Chris Thornton there. Is he battling with Van Laar? Yeah, that is Van Laar and Thornton battling for position at the moment. They also have Joe McCauley trying to get through here as well, but they don't want to ruin their own race at the same time. Don't want to ruin another driver's race. So this is a difficult position for Van Laar and Thornton to be in, though Van Laar's already allowed Joe McCauley through. What will Chris Thornton do? If he's able to push through here or be pushed along by Joe McCauley, I think he'd be okay with that, though. Here goes Joe McCauley right up the inside. As you see there, this is the outlap from Chris Thornton from his earlier stop-go 30-second penalty. Yeah, Marcus, I completely understand it's out of your control, out of PCDC's control, for what occurred there earlier today, but it's all good. Hopefully I kept chat entertained in the meanwhile. Up front, Vincent Erbrick coming up to another lap driver. Look at the gap that he's got. But how about Jordan Burroughs? He's going around the outside of Machiaila into turn number 1, down towards turn number 2. Now they go. All of a sudden, this battle has really opened up between the two, and we're seeing some hefty-duty fighting going on between P2 and P3. Machiaila and Jordan Burroughs. Burroughs has felt like P2 should have been his all day long as he was battling with Harry Spears. And now he's out there right now battling for that position with Machiaila. If you're wondering, your fastest lap of the day so far is a 59.0 for race pace. 35 laps in. That was set by Vincent Erbrick. He's been in the 59s for nearly every single lap, including the last lap. On the last lap, only one other driver was able to get into even the 2-minute 0 mark. So, I mean, that just shows the dominance that Vincent Erbrick has shown today. By the way, that other driver that got into the 2-minute 0 mark, Nicholas Negueta, as he's trying to open up that gap to Joe McCauley for that P5 position, and he's doing everything he can. I think we've captured pretty much everybody on the grid today, except for much of Justin Dijkstra. Seems that he has just driven a race by himself. And for any Witcher 3 fans or Witcher 2 fans out there, Dijkstra, a brilliant character in those games. Machiaila, though, brilliant defending. Holding off from Jordan Burroughs as they go down the pit straight once again here. What can we see now from the Mercedes behind the Ferrari? Will there be an attempt? You can see the early defending already from the Ferrari. He makes his position known, and he does so nicely, but there goes Jordan Burroughs off the track. There's contact between the two drivers. Oh, and I hope Jordan stayed out of the wall okay. It looks like he saved it, actually. Nicely so. Look at this. Jordan Burroughs is already battling back. And how about that from Jordan Burroughs? He was pushed off there. I say pushed off. I'm not saying who was at fault or anything. I'm not a steward. Don't get me involved in that. But from my observations, there was a bit of a nudge there. And then we see somehow Burroughs collects that brilliantly, and he's still only a second and a half behind Machiaila. Let's go ahead and zoom right into that replay, huh? So down they go into turn number 1. And we see around the outside, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't seem anything nefarious to me. Doesn't seem anything nasty. I think this is just strong defending, though. It's hard to see. Is there movement from the Ferrari? He's always been moving to the outside. There was kind of a straight line to the outside there. I don't know. Marcus, what's your early take on that one? Still good fighting between the two. I mean, a second and a half, like I mentioned, and now Jordan's going to want it even more as there was contact. You can play it back once again. I'm curious to see, as Cohen Hay is being shown in the bottom left, but he goes around the outside. On the camera kind of switches, and when the camera switches, it's difficult to see what angle he was going at that whole time. I don't know. That's a tough one to call. And we'll see what the drivers say afterwards. Usually you'll get some honest reviews from both drivers involved. Peter Parnell has picked up a stop-go 30-second time penalty. He's in P11 right now. That will definitely drop him a couple of positions in this race. Joe McCauley, he's 4.5 seconds down from Nicholas Negueta. Negueta's 5 seconds off of Harry Spears. 13 minutes to go in this race. Yeah, that's what I think, Marcus. That's what I mean by what a recovery from Jordan Burroughs. I mean, for a lot of drivers, that might be out of the race if they're not careful collecting the car. They might be collecting a wall. But he was able to get to grips with that AMG, bring it back in line, and still he's hunting down Machi Hyla. This is a live view from just a lap ago where we saw an incident. He's back challenging again for this P2. So again, this is the live battle. I'll show you the replay of what happened last time these two went neck and neck just 3 minutes ago. We saw Jordan Burroughs go around the outside. Machi Hyla is in the inside line here, and there's contact between the two. Oh, and you can see him go out into the gravel. How does he bring that back? I just don't understand, but here he is through 130R again, challenging up the inside. He backs out of it, and it's very rare you see an overtake through 130R. I think I've seen Niels van de Koekel do it, but a few drivers have made that attempt at an overtake through 130R. It's one thing to do so, but you have to do so with somebody who's truly trusted in the other car, because if you're not careful, I mean, that's both drivers out of the race. So here we go, towards turn number 1 again. We'll leave it at this view for a moment. Here's a mirror image of 4 minutes ago, and Jordan Burroughs backed out of it a little bit there. Is that some fear coming back into play, or is that Machi Hyla just lining his car up a little bit nicer? So look out for Negueta and McCauley to make some movement here. 12 minutes to go in this race. They both seem to be closing in on the driver ahead, and Negueta is that driver ahead of Joe McCauley. Now less than 4 seconds separates those two. Joe's made a nice recovery drive in this race. After pitting way early, he's shown some nice speed. Nicholas Negueta, he stayed out here, and he's just shown consistency. He's been in the top 10 all day, and 4 seconds now separates him from the one-time provisional race leader, I think partial race leader, Harry Spears. So Machi Hyla and Jordan Burroughs, this is a battle. I know we've watched it for a while, but something to keep an eye on. It looked like Van Bergen was closing in on Ruppel. He is. Look for Van Bergen to try and get through here as well, though let's keep an eye out on Machi Hyla and Jordan Burroughs as they go through Spoon Curve. Now this looks like it might be a nice run for the Mercedes. Got to get on the throttle a little bit earlier there as they go down towards the final couple of corners. Look at this. Around the outside already. He's making his position known. Forces the Ferrari to the inside line. And there goes Jordan Burroughs up at a P2. Machi Hyla drops to P3. And finally, Jordan Burroughs is able to secure that P2 that he has wanted all day long. So nice racing between these couple of drivers here have kept entertainment value high. With only 10 minutes to go, this has truly flown by, and I feel that I say this every time I come to view one of these brilliant races. But we see battling for an hour and a half. Absolutely crazy, as here's Ruppel defending from Van Bergen there in P12. Yeah, Marcus, I think what these drivers have done nicely from my observations is that they've been able to do what you just mentioned. They've been able to stay close to the drivers in front and know when they want to overtake, and that can make such a difference when you come to finally attempt that overtake. All of a sudden, you make it easier for yourself. As here's Machi Hyla. He's closing in on that Mercedes ahead. And what's he able to do here? Nothing just yet, but Machi Hyla just pushing that Mercedes along in front. So still good pace there for that Ferrari. And what can he do now with just 9 minutes left? By the way, there is a race leader. And here he is. It's Mr. Vincent Erbrick in P1. He's leading the way from Jordan Burroughs, who's a bit further down the road. That's the P18 of Peter Parnell. Wow, that was difficult to say. In the Aston Martin, the number 53 car that he gets through on there. So a lap down, 2 laps down, 3 laps down goes Parnell. Maybe just 2 laps. I think that'll be 2 laps. As now Burroughs crosses the finish line. And good call on that. Vendela and Prucha here battling for this P8 position in this race. Somebody to keep an eye on here is Prucha, who's been pressuring for... This seems to have been heating up for the last 20 minutes almost between Vendela and Prucha. And Martin there in that Lexus, driving the only Lexus on the grid today, is trying to really carry along that entire team here in Japan. How about this? Van Bergen and Ruppel. He was able to just get through there. I just missed it, unfortunately, between these two drivers. Oh, it's so difficult sometimes. I apologize for that, but it's Van Bergen up into that P11 position. He leads Sascha Ruppel. See, I wish that I knew the tiers or the classes of drivers. I know it's not the fault of the league runners at all. There was a server issue early on as the McLaren runs a bit wide there. A server issue early on caused the little bit of a... Let's just call it a glitch to make things easy, but there was not enough time for the entry sheet to be entered. And there is a pro, silver, and amateur class all involved here, and I wish I could point out who the leader for each class was. I know the leader of the pro is Vincent, but Marcus, maybe if you could point out to me who is leading the silver and amateur class at the moment. It might be difficult for you, but it'd be nice to know to give them some recognition for how they've done in this race. As here's still Martin Prucha pushing through and pushing along Vendela in front. Sorry, I took a breather there for a moment, and still Prucha and Vendela going at it here. And how close is Kohei? Kohei Oyae is in P10 at the moment. So Vendelot's leading silver. Is he leading Prucha for that silver position? Is this a battle for the lead in silver? Oh, this is a fight for the leaders. There's near contact between the two drivers through Spoon and goes way wide. The Lexus of Prucha there, and that is an issue for him, as now all of a sudden the BMW has been able to take quite the advantage here, and there's your race leader involved in this as well. So not only do we have the overall race leader, we also have the silver race leader here of Vendela. Oh man, and what an interesting battle we have going on here, because Vandelot's got to be careful. While I'm sure he wants to get out of the way of the overall race leader, he has a lot more to lose here if he's not careful. So there you can see him move to the outside. There's no real battle going on there, and that's positive. Wow, and I'm glad you pointed out this is a battle for the lead in the silver class between these two. I did save that replay, so let's go ahead and take a look at it now while they're still battling in the bottom left of the screen. You can see them coming through. Again, this is a replay here of what just happened into Spoon. Near contact between the two drivers. Wow. Ever so close they go, and back racing once again. And Van Bergen is leading the AM class, the amateur class, which they're all racing in. What do you mean? Van Bergen leading the way here. He's been actually great today from what I've seen. His battle with Vendela and Dijkstra was one of my favorite parts of today's race. I'm not sure if all of you were here for that portion of this race, but Van Bergen, Vendela, and Dijkstra all battling was just brilliant to watch. I mean, they were all pushing each other along. I can see Harry Spears in there as well. Driver we haven't seen in a while. As there goes Sasha is off. So Sasha Ruppel goes off the track, loses out to Joe McCauley. And how has that progress been made? So 2 seconds with 3 minutes to go in this race. Oh, man. So this is the battle to watch now. It's Vendela. And it's Prucha here for P8 in this race, but P1 in the silver class between the two of them. Really battling now as they go near side by side down towards 130R. It's up the inside goes Prucha. He can't make it work just yet. He might have hindered himself a bit as they go towards the Casio triangle. Oh, and so close for the two drivers. We definitely have to watch this battle towards the end, but also keep in mind that Vincent Erbrich has brought up a brilliant race here up in P1, 42 laps in, leading the way by a massive margin to Jordan Burroughs, who's leading Machihilo by just over a second. Here is your battle for the race lead in silver class. It's going to be Lucas Vandelot from Martin Prucha. How about we go on board with what it looks like to attack? And down towards the Degners now. It's still going to be Vandelot leading the way from Prucha. It's half a second separates the two silver class drivers. Kohei Oyai is down in P10 at the moment. The 88 BMW is sitting comfortably at the moment in the top 10 as well. Joe McCauley there looks to be closing in on Nicholas Negueta, but that's not a battle for a race lead at all. It's Lucas Vandelot leading the way from Martin Prucha still. Let's watch him down into the spoon curve and see if we have any possible attempt here. No, not just yet. He runs way wide and a big mistake there, so I wanted to switch over to this hairpin because he got Machihilo challenging as well. Could this be their final lap of the race? No, they're going to get another lap in from here. Where's Vincent Erbrich at? Yeah, so we'll have one more lap to go in this race, it appears, at the moment. Let's go back to Vandelot, still leading the way there. Where's Joe McCauley at in reference to Nicholas Negueta? Looks like there's too much of a gap for him to make much headway there, but how about Nicholas Negueta nearly catching Harry Spears in this race? Man, a brilliant drive from the Bentley driver, and there you have it. Just got notification from Race Control that this will be the leader on the final lap of this race. It's Vincent Erbrich leading the way up there, 44 laps in. What a race. What an absolutely dominant performance from him. But it's not over until the fat lady sings, they say. And we'll have to wait for that as Jordan Burroughs leads Machihilo. Lucas Vandelot leads Martin Prucha. But look at the gap between them. Even with that mistake, it's closed in. And this has just been incredible between these two. And I think at this point, Martin Prucha has to be aware this is his final attempt at an overtake. Oh, and there it looks like a little mistake. There was that oversteer in the Lexus. A little bit of oversteer cost him about 0.2 of a second, and it shows how much margins matter here in ACC, especially at Suzuka, because you only have a few positions to overtake at. Jordan Burroughs still leading the way here. I can see the 33 of Vincent Erbrich. He's coming down towards the spoon curve now. Let's see how Vendela and Prucha are managing. Still battling here. Joe McCauley leading Dijkstra. And it's confusing with the lap separating these drivers exactly where everybody is, but it is white flag out now, so we're on the final lap of this race. This is your lead for silver class. Vendela leading Prucha as they go towards 130R. Into 130R is the leader from the pro class. He is going to absolutely dominate today's race. Vincent Erbrick with a beautiful performance. Jordan Burroughs sitting in P2 with Machiaila in P3 at the moment. Let's take a look at Vendela. Really into the last possible attempt. It's not going to matter, so let's go on board with Vincent Erbrick. Leads the way across the line and wins the race. Erbrick with a nicely done win there. Let's go on board with Lucas Vandelot as they go to cross the line now. It will be Vandelot across Prucha in P2, so P1 and P2 for Vandelot and Prucha in the silver class. In the amateur class, I believe it was Van Bergen leading the way, but let's go on board with Jordan Burroughs as he seems to be crossing the line next, and he will go across the line just ahead of Machiaila. What a podium it's been in today's race. Harry Spears, I'm sure, devastated he's not sitting up there with those three drivers because it has been absolutely brilliant from everybody in the top 10, including this man right here, Nicolas Neguera, who finishes just behind Harry Spears in this P5 position, as there goes Spears across for that P4. P5 to Nicolas Neguera. What a race for him. And Joe McCauley, nice little recovery after an early mistake, sees him finish P6 in this race, with Justin Dijkstra a bit further down the road in P7. By the way, Van Bergen did bring home the win in that amateur class, so your winners for today are Erbrick, Vandelot, and Van Bergen, with your podium being Erbrick, Burroughs, and Hyla. Wow, what a race, everybody. We still have a few drivers out there on track right now, as there's Thornton collecting the wall, nicely so. Van Laar still out here racing. We'll bring everybody home across the line. I know towards the end of the race we didn't get as much as the back of the grid as I would have liked to, but the racing up front was just beautiful to watch, and can't miss that, as here's Dijkstra coming through the Casio triangle now, battling with the 89. Oh, it's two Dijkstras trying to finish side by side here. Absolutely love it. So P7 and P15, they're going to go. It's Justin and Marin Dijkstra across the line. The brothers, apparently, love to see it. So the two brother Dijkstras across the line, make some contact, and the McLarens, there they go. Absolutely love it. All right, so there was your PCDC Motorsports race for the evening. I'm not sure if we do interviews or not here, so thank you all for joining us. And I hope you'll join us next week here at PCDC Motorsports for another brilliant race.